and Assalamualaikum guys, glad to see you. I am Nur Alina Jiha from the RG1A. So today we will discover about Chinese art, Indian art and also Japanese art. And before that, I'm improving my English, so pardon my English. And so, let's move to the first topic, Chinese art. China is a country located in East Asia bordering 14 other countries. So as you can see on the screen, it's China map. So Chinese art is visual art that whether ancient or modern originated in or is practiced in China or by Chinese artists. Most of the artwork lasted in the form of copper, rock and pottery. In the history of China until modern age, they were an age or era called dynasty. Each of dynasty named before its ruler. The first dynasty is known as Dynasty Shang. Let me explain a little bit about Shang dynasty. The Shang dynasty, also historically known as the Yin dynasty, was a Chinese dynasty that ruled in the Middle and Lower Yellow River Valley in the second millennium before Christ, succeeding the semi-mythical Xia dynasty and followed by the Zhou dynasty. So, did you know Chinese paintings uses highly detailed brushstrokes that delimit details very precisely? It is often highly colored and usually depicts figural or narrative subjects, or maybe we can call it ink and wash painting. So, this is some of the painting that was made by Chinese artists. The first one on the left is a hanging scroll painted by Ma Lin in or before 1246. The painter used ink and color on silk. The second one on the top right called Parrot and Insect Among Pear Blossom by Huang Tu-sai. And the last one at the right bottom one called Early Autumn by Chen Xuan. There's actually a lot more, but these are the famous ones. So let's move to the Chinese sculpture. As you can see here, this sculpture name is the Flying Horse of Gansu. It was unearthed from a hand tomb at Lei Tai in Wuwei. The tomb belonged to General Zhang of Zhangyi and the statue is made from bronze. The discovery was made by a team of locals who had been told to dig air raid shelters in the case of imminent war with the Soviet Union. Did you know that Chinese calligraphy is the writing of Chinese characters as daily usage before westernization, combining purely visual art and interpretation of literary meaning? This type of expression has been widely practiced in Taiwan and Hong Kong and has been generally held in high esteem across East Asia. Calligraphers in China were abused and humiliated during the Communist Cultural Revolution. There are some general standardization of the various styles of calligraphy in this tradition. In Korean, it is called hanja, meanwhile in Japanese, it is called kanji. And there's the modern one called hiragana. From what I know, hiragana is mainly used in Japan. Calligraphy has also led to the development of many forms of art in China, including seal carving, ornate paperwork, and ink tones. Chinese calligraphy, appreciated more or only for its aesthetic quality, has a long tradition and is today regarded as one of the arts. So now let's talk about Indian art. India is located in southern Asia. It is bordered by the Arabian Sea, Lakshadweep Sea, and the Bay of Bengal to the south, Bhutan, Nepal, China, and Pakistan to the north, and Bangladesh and Myanmar to the east. I'm explaining very detailed in case some of you forgot that India is part of Asia. India art consists of a variety of art forms including painting, sculpture, pottery, and textile art such as woven silk. A strong sense of design is characteristic of Indian art and can be observed in its modern and traditional forms. The origin of Indian art can be traced to prehistoric settlements in the third millennium before Christ. Indian art has had cultural influences as well as religious influences such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Islam. Indian artist styles historically follow Indian religions out of the subcontinent, having an especially large influence in Tibet, Southeast Asia, and China. The architecture of India is rooted in its history, culture, and religion. This is one of the popular architecture by Indian arts called the Lakshmana Temple, Khajuraho. Hindu temple architecture is mainly divided into Dravidian and Nagara styles. Nagara style has more curvy architecture than Dravidians. Dravidian architecture flourished during the rule of Rashtrakuta, Hoysala, Chola, Chera, and Pandyan Empire, as well as Vijayanagara Empire. And this one is the most famous building depicting the Mughal architecture in India, Taj Mahal. I think everyone knows it, right? Taj Mahal incorporates and expands on design, tradition of Persian and earlier Mughal architecture. The Taj Mahal was commissioned by Shah Jahan in 1631 to be built in the memory of his wife Mumtaz Mahal, who died on 17 June that year, while giving birth to their 14th child Gauhara Begum. The Taj Mahal was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983 for being the jewel Muslim art in India and one of the universally admired masterpieces of the World Heritage. It is regarded by as the best example of Mughal architecture and a symbol of India's rich history. Among a number of architectural styles and traditions, the contrasting Hindu temple architecture and Indo-Islamic architecture are the best known of their historical styles. But both of these, but especially the former, have a number of regional styles within them. Okay, so in the paintings can be broadly classified as murals, miniatures, and paintings on cloth. Murals are large works executed on the walls of solid structures, as in the Ajanta caves. Paintings on cloth were often produced in a more popular context, often as folk art, used for example by traveling reciters of epic poetry. These are some paintings from Indian art and its names. Sculpture in the Indian subcontinent, partly because of the climate of the Indian subcontinent, makes the long-term survival of organic materials difficult. Essentially consists of the sculpture of stone, metal, and terracotta. Indian buildings were profusely adorned with it and, indeed, are often inseparable from it. The subject matter of Indian sculpture was almost invariably abstract human forms that were used to instruct people in the truth of Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain religions. The nude was used both to represent the body of a symbol of spirit and to reveal the imagined shapes of the gods. Okay, so last but not least, we're gonna discover about Japanese art. Japan is an island country lying off the east coast of Asia. Japanese art covers a wide range of art styles and media, including ancient pottery, sculpture in painting and calligraphy on silk and paper, ukiyo-e paintings and woodblocks painting, ceramic, origami, and more recently manga, which is modern Japanese cartoon and comics. I'm sure you all heard about anime, right? Yes, it is the modern one. My favorite is Shingeki no Kyojin, and the season 4 is airing right now. Don't forget to watch it. Okay, cut the promotion. Woodblock printing in Japan is a technique best known for its use in the ukiyo-e artistic genre of the single sheets, but it was also used for printing books in the same period. Once the design was complete, an exact copy was made and placed face down on the cherry wood block. The block cutter then carved directly through the copy to produce what is known as the key block. After the decline of ukiyo-e and introduction of a movable type and other technologies, woodblock printing continued as a method for printing text as well as producing art, and both within traditional modes such as ukiyo-e and in a variety of more radical or Western forms that might be construed as modern art. These three are the most popular Japanese printings, and I'm sure everyone is familiar with the Great Wave of Kanagawa by Katsushika Hokusai in the middle. So, architecture in Japan has been typified by wooden structures elevated slightly off the ground with tile or thatched roof. The earliest Japanese architecture was seen in prehistoric time in simple pit houses and stores adapted to the needs of hunter-gatherer population. Influence from Han Dynasty China through Korea saw the introduction of more complex grain stores and ceremonial burial chambers. People usually sat on cushions or otherwise on the floor. Traditionally, chairs and high tables were not widely used until the 20th century. However, since the 19th century, Japan has incorporated much of Western, modern, and postmodern architecture into construction and design. The most significant contributor to architectural changes during the Asuka period was the introduction of Buddhism. New temples become center of worship with tomb burial practices quickly become outlawed. Also, Buddhism brought to Japan kami worship, in the idea of permanent shrines, and gave to the Shinto architecture much of its present vocabulary. So, lastly, traditional Japanese painting or Yamato-e is characterized by native subject matter, often taken from literature. As you will find, almost all Yamato-e paintings have a written text along with the main pictures. Japanese painting is one of the oldest and most highly refined of the Japanese visual art, encompassing a wide variety of genres and styles. As with the history of Japanese art in general, the long history of Japanese painting exhibits synthesis and competition between native Japanese aesthetic and the adaptation of imported ideas, mainly from Chinese painting. Some of the great artists of Yamato-e were Shobun and Jasetsu. This class of painting was solely meant for the aristocrat people of Japan. So these are some famous Japanese painting as you can see here. And that brings us to the end. I would like to thank you for your time and attention today. Thank you so much for your interest and attention. Also, don't forget to leave a like for this video. So that's all from me and Chika. Thank you so much.